Yeah, I think something else that people don't want to, like a reason they don't wash it is they don't think that it does anything, which I think it does quite a bit. And 15 minutes is, I mean, it seems like a long time, doesn't it?
It does.
So if we're saying how many gallons an hour did you say is normally out of a garden hose? Say you got 40 psi.
You're gonna be even at 15 minutes. You're gonna be probably 100 gallons of water.
Really? Because I'm also trying to think of, I know of some people that are on, like if you're on a well or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
people don't have this unlimited supply of water. There was somebody that I had spoken with. I think he uses a tank. Like he uses a tank in order to flush out. He's got barely any water.
And that's the beautiful part about this is that you can set the time of duration of flush.
Yep.
Down to a minute to 60 minutes
wow.
for whatever you want to do. So it comes pre-programmed for 15 minutes. That's because every engine manufacturer recommends that.
Right.
But again, given your application and given the way you want to do whatever you want to do, it's adjustable very easily.
Well, do you have a 9.9 horsepower outboard or do you have a 350? You know what I mean? There's a big difference in the amount of water that you need to flush on a 20 horse.
You said something interesting is like, do you have to do it? Well, I can tell you, if you ever have a overheating issue or if you ever have kind of a temperature-related issue and you take it to your dealer and they crack it open and they see salt corrosion or they see indications that you haven't flushed your engine, 99% of the time, if they see any type of that, warranty denied. So it's one of those things that, it doesn't hurt. Oh, it doesn't hurt. Oh, that hurt.
Yep.
That hurt when it did hurt.
Yeah, because it could be, like we're saying, the people that put the T on there and they cut their volume in half, and now on the top of the heads, that's going to get to me. I'm like,
I won't turn
what's happening? But it's if they tear down the top of the engine, the top of the cylinder heads, because there's very small passages up there that could be packed full of whatever, the mussels or something like that. So you're in freshwater and you've got their zebra mussels or
there's zebra.
I'm not sure what I think it is zebra mussels.
Zebra mussel and there's milfoil up in the Northeast and there's all kinds of things.
So you got stuff like this that's packing up the top of the engine. Now when you run that engine and you run through a patch of weeds, you run shallow, you get into grass, you run in shallow at the sandbar. Now you're picking up sand, grass, dirt, weeds, whatever. That's going to hit those mussels or those blockages that were just forming. And now all of a sudden,
like cholesterol.
Like a heart problem. You're like,
and it does. It's not going to happen all at once. It could.
Yep.
But it's going to not start. It's not going to be cooling right. And then something's going on. You take it, dude. You've been flushing. You haven't flushed this engine. Yeah, I have. Well, my eyes tell me you haven't done it appropriately.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's
exactly.
Those any kinds of part warranties, they're going to be denied immediately.
Well, yeah, because they call it. It's a maintenance item. It's a.
This is the one routine maintenance that every boater can accomplish. There's no reason why anybody shouldn't do it other than, I don't want to do it this time.
What do you think the ratio of people that flush versus don't flush is?
I would say the people that don't flush adequately is on the much higher side than those that do.
That's what I was thinking. I was trying to think of a number that I could safely say, but every number I could think of, because I'm thinking like 80% don't, and then I'm like, I know a lot of people that flush, and I'm thinking 50% don't. I'm like, I know a lot of people that don't flush. So I'm like, where would...
So like, you go around the country, and if somebody's running up a river, the guys in Louisiana, I'll pay you to find me somebody that flushes their engine.
Right.
However, if you understand the water they're running in, just like you said, there's a bunch of gunk and debris and turbid water they're running up the Mississippi.
Yep.
That stuff gets caught up in those smaller passages, and it kind of works like cholesterol.
Yep.
So
whereas somebody up in, say, Wisconsin that's running this cool,
crisp,
clean snow-fed water, it's like, Outboard's 60 years old, never flushed a day in his life. So it's like,
you got a point.
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, anything down.
And it's interesting. So people have asked, can we introduce, salt away solutions? The salt's gone.
Okay.
Those types of things.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's two schools of thought, right? There's people that want to do it every time. Brand new engine, whatever. My thought, obviously it's not going to hurt anything. But if it's kind of one of those things, if you're doing it right the first time, if you're not cut, why do you need a Band-Aid? But then again, ace bandages are good for support.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It's very easy to introduce those types of solutions, whether you want to do it, on the inlet side, if you're doing a single engine, or if you're doing twins, you would want to do it on the hose side line.
Right.
There's even, people are very creative. I had one guy using a single. He wanted to flush the engine for 10 minutes with fresh water and the last 2 minutes with a straight salt solution.
Which is probably that's the better way. And the reason, go ahead.
So what he did was took both lines into a T, but had the salt solution on the one side, on port number 2. So when it ran the first side, it ran right through the T.
The other side.
And then the second, right through, and it just hooked up. It was ingenious.
So can you do the first side for 15 minutes and the second side for 2 minutes?
You can adjust the time for anything you want to do.
Per outlet. So, that's really good, because that's something that a lot of people might not know. I didn't know this for a long time, but any of those salt away products or stuff like that. So they're not necessarily something, it's not an after the fact type of product. Right. So once something builds up, it doesn't necessarily break it down to get rid of the buildup.
Right.
It's a preventative thing. And what it is that in the salt, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm not a chemist. So, but from my understanding and from people that I've talked with that, know these kinds of things, what it is, the salt is like the ions and stuff to make it up. There is a positive and a negative. And when everything dissolves, the water evaporates, the salt's left behind, and those two charges will basically create like a little shock there. So what salt away, salt off, all those products do is they dissolve that salt so that way it gets rid of it, but it cleans everything in it. So if you run your fresh water and you run the salt away, but then you continue running the fresh water, you're washing away all that solution. So you're not even doing anything. So you have to you flush
it. You put the Band-Aid on and took it off.
Yeah, you put it on and then took it off. Which you don't really, I didn't know that for a long time. And so, that's really interesting. And I like that you can do the after the fact. I mean, which would work for a single, but if you had quads or something like that, that's obviously another task.
There's other ways you could plumb it to accomplish the introduction of those juices. Right. And the Flushmaster itself made flushing engines easier, right? So connect, start. It takes that 30-minute task literally into a few seconds, right? So
you just hit the start button
and walk away. Right? You don't
because you got the quick connects,
think about it. Right?
So you just hook your quick connects up and then hook it up. So all right. Let me ask you this. So the quick connects, are they like a one-way valve in there? Can you leave these on the engine?
They're designed to permanently replace the OEM plug in the engine.
So you put this on there, and when the engine's running, because that's part of the reason that a lot of people that make flush quick attachments is that you don't realize that water flows in one way, but when you put your cap on there to stop the flush, water's always in that hose. When your engine's running, there's always water in that hose. So if you just take the cap off, you're going to be pouring water out the side. Right. So without some sort of a checkway valve there, the quick connects.
So Mercury's, so all the engine manufacturers have designed their flush connections slightly different.
Yeah.
Mercury has that OEM plug on the side of the engine that 95% of the time you have a real challenge even getting it out of the engine.
On any of the VA V6s,
right. And that was the reason why we developed the Mercury Quick Connect.
Okay.
Because the challenge of even getting to the flush connection was a real
the hose is only this far, and when you pull it out, it's like, that's it.
But even the older models, you can't get that plug out of the side of the cowl. Like, you literally have to take a pair of pliers, and here's a funny story, and I swear to you, it's 10,000% true. There was a Marine Max in St. Petersburg, bought one of these guys, said, hey, let's flush this boat. It's a brand new, I don't remember what it was, but it was twin 300 Mercuries. I'm like, great, let's flush the boat. Tech, sales manager, parts manager, and sales guy that sold the boat. All of us down on the dock. I'm like, sweet, let's go. First tech couldn't get the plug out. And the other guy's like,
Yeah, laughing at him.
Like, I know exactly what you're doing. So he jumps down and starts messing with the other one. He can't get it out. So the first guy goes up to the shop, grabs a pair of pliers. Literally, we are 22 minutes into this conversation. We haven't hooked a boat up to we haven't hooked a hose up to the boat yet. And I looked at the guy. I looked at the service manager. I'm like, hey, do you think your customers are actually going to do this? Because if I'm inexperienced, right? So there's a lot of boaters that really enjoy boating, but like they said that was it, but it's not. I don't want to break it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That can't be it. So they don't flush the engine.
There's no way that it's this hard to do.
There's no way that's where I got to attack.
Right.
Right. So that was why we developed the Mercury Quick Connect. Right. So we designed the Mercury Quick Connect to mimic the OEM plug. So if you look at that plug itself, there's two holes. It's got a concave surface, and there's two holes in that.
Yep. So that way, if your flush T-fitting fails, which it's not really a fail, if you get sand, grass weed, anything up in there, it holds it open, and you will leak water out that fitting.
So guess what we did? We designed ours to have that same visual indicator that there's an issue.
Yep.
I didn't say it failed because it may just be stuck open.
It could, like I said, a piece
of
grass.
Million things that
Yep.
But if you have that in that concave surface of it and it's just a weep, you don't typically see it weep out of the thing because then it'll run down the side of the engine.
Yeah.
And you don't, unless it's spraying out and it's wide open, you don't necessarily tend to see it. But when it drips off of this cap,
it's noticeable.
You see it dripping. And that's one question we get often is, hey, I put your Mercury Quick Connect in and now it's dripping. What's wrong with these things? There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah. It's your flush valve.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the other challenge we have, and you'll see that's in our Mercury Quick Connect packages, and everything that you need to use our units, everything you need to use the Flushmaster is included in the box. There's batteries, there's a screwdriver, there's hose fittings, there's hose, everything that you need to use this outside of water, right?
Right.
Everything you need to.
What about batteries?
Yep. Batteries are included.
That's one thing that you buy something.
Everything,
no
batteries are included. And just like, these guys, everything you need to install the Quick Connects are in the package. So you'll see that the Quick Connect was there, the female for the hose side. On some of the Mercuries, you need the elbow. So on the L6s, their flush line was really long.
Oh yeah, L6 is a breeze. Everybody loved that.
Right.
That was the big problem is L6. You pull it out, boom, pull it out. It's like this long.
Right.
And everybody loved it, but then people would repower with the V6, V8, and oh my gosh.
Right, and that flush line's like this long.
Yeah, you got nothing.
And when you pull it out, there's a kink in it.
Yep.
So when the way the flushing system works, when that plugs in, who cares if there's a kink because we're not pushing water in the engine.
Yeah.
So you open that up and extend the plug to attach the hose to it.
Yep.
There's no kink. But with the flush connectors, that's always in.
Yep.
So if we were to use the flush connector with the original female on the inside, it kinks on the backside and doesn't allow the engine to flush. So we have included an elbow to eliminate that kink for that reason. Do all Mercuries need this? No. But we include it to take that decision, do I or don't I? An easy way to think about it, do I need it? If you open your flush plug and you can see a kink in that line or you can feel a kink in that line, you need the elbow.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to say, do I need it or not?
Well, they lightened everything up on that engine, and it's a V engine. It's packed in there, so there's not much. You take the cowling off, there ain't no space.
There's not much room. But you can flip that female connector out.
Yep.
Cut it to where you just cut it right where that kink is, install that. It's a very simple installation. And I'm going to rate my mechanical skills of probably a 2 out of 10.
Okay.
and I can do it pretty easily. So it's not something that you have to take it to your dealer to do. But again, if you're not mechanical, it's a 5-minute installation for somebody that's capable.
Yeah, somebody's got a pair of pliers or a razor knife.
So one of the other differences, so we talked about the Mercury Quick Connect having the visual indicator of the check valve, right?
Yep.
Suzuki is completely different. Suzuki, that screw, there's two flush ports on a Suzuki, one in the front, one in the back. And it's a plug that sits into a metal threaded female in the engine. So in order to attach a hose to a Suzuki, you have to back twist a hose enough to get it to sit and hope you don't cross thread it and booger up those threads. if you don't have that plug in the engine, it's going to be pouring water out of the front of that or the back of it. So you have to have the plug in, or the engine could potentially overheat.
Right.
You know? So, we designed these guys to mimic how that plug works. So the way this plug works, it has an O-ring here on the male shaft, but it also has an O-ring on the top of the cap.
Okay, yep.
So this cap is designed to hold the pressure of the Suzuki back pressure when the engine's running. Interestingly enough, Cito International, there's several affiliates that are using our products, and they've learned that if they're doing ungroundings and stuff like that, they'll open up both sides and just blow the sand through the top of the engine instead of trying to get it out through the exhaust and out through the pea hole and whatever. So they've had a lot of, let's just say they're very enthused with our products, because think about their captains at the end of the day. They don't want to stand there and wait 30 minutes, 45 minutes to do that task they have to do, but they got to stand there and do it. Yep.
Well, I think that would probably be good for a lot of those FWC, the Coast Guard, charter captains. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I know the number one people that I know that don't flush are charter captains, because, well, I mean, for a couple different reasons.
I've gotten all the feedback as well, but go ahead.
So, I mean, a lot of them, they'll put, like, some of them will put 2,000 hours on an engine in a year.
With no question. Right?
With ease. So to them, like,
it doesn't matter.
By the time I get done, like, it matters not to me, because in 3 years I'm getting a new engine. It
doesn't matter.
And I care less. I got 6,000 hours. Like, you think I'm running that?
Right.
So on that side, yeah, I understand that, no flushing. But so if you like this clip, you can watch the full podcast over here, or you can watch another clip over here.